to Life Curious Women. I am so excited to be back behind the mic. I took a little bit of a break in January. Well deserved, needed, all of the things. If you listen to our Eastful Year End series back in December, you know I preach all about tuning into your mind, body, soul when it comes to the new year and New Year's resolutions and diving into your goals in the new year. I personally really believe that January is just not the best time for me to be energized, dive into goals, like start something new. That's just not how I operate. I think that my body needs some time to recover from like the holidays. And if we're honest, January is a time for hibernation, right? Like traditionally that is what the winter is for. And so I took my own advice and I took January to reset, reconnect, to slowly transition. We are going to chat a little bit deeper today about what's been going on for me in the last couple of months. A major shift happened within my personal life that has really changed the trajectory of my day to day of like what I'm focused on and all of the things. So I really needed some time to transition and we're going to talk all about it. If you follow me on social media, you already know a little bit about what's been going on, but I haven't gotten a chance to really do a deep dive. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how I was prepping all year long to really set myself up for when life gives you lemons and all of the steps I have been taking to live a more aligned life as always, right? But there are still things that I continue to work on and how I've been able to prepare for that. And then life threw me a curveball, but I was ready for it. And all of the things I've been doing to sort of prep my nervous system as I move into a new era and a new way of living my day to day. So we're going to talk all about that. And we're going to talk all about all of the magical things that have resulted from me not only prepping myself, but trusting the universe and leaning into trust and just leaning in and being open and available to whatever the next thing revealed itself to me, which is not something that I'm very good at. I've always been that person that like needs a plan, that knows what's going on next. And surprisingly, this was quite smooth for me and it felt very fitting. So I'm excited to talk all about it and do a deep dive on all of the things. But before we dive in, not surprisingly, so much has been going on in our country. And I really wanted to address that before we dive into this week's episode because I've been away from the mic for the past month and so much has happened. And so if you don't know and you don't follow me, fuck ICE. That's where I stand. And I just want to share that, as someone who is an empath, as someone who's deeply affected by injustices in the world and have struggled with regulating myself in times of like collective trauma and all of the things, it's been a little shocking and hard, throughout this month for me, especially because I know with social media, we're just inundated. And of course, every algorithm is tailored to each of us. So it's been a little bit overpowering. But what I want to say with all of this is that now is not the time to ignore, bow out, to be quiet, to let what the emotions of what's going on and the bombardment of things keep you down and keep you out, because it's more important than ever that you find the strength and the will to push through and fight. And whether that means donating money, showing up to a protest, calling your representatives, there is such a spectrum of what everyone can be doing right now to fight fascism, to fight ICE, that um you know I think more than ever it's important. And of course it's important to take care of ourselves. Like I said, I took the month of January and prioritized certain things, so of course it's important to take care of yourself. But I think in moments where I have felt like I can't, I remember just how hard it must be to be an immigrant right now in this moment where if you're speaking Spanish, you're being like targeted. If you have an accent, you're being targeted. And that is not to erase the fact that this has always been the reality for Black and brown folks in the United States, um, at all, because we have to acknowledge that, like, this has always been America. But, of course, with how much we've been seeing and watching the last couple of murders that we've watched from ICE, it's it's shocking and it's terrifying, and that in conjunction with a lot of other things that have been going on within our current government. So I say all of this, take care of yourself, but find one thing to do this week that helps the collective. And maybe that means just like helping your neighbor, because at the end of the day, like, the way we're going to continue is through community. And so that's my thoughts on that. And I will keep talking about it, but I knew that I needed to address that today. And if you're like, I don't know where to begin, shoot me a DM. Happy to share. I always feel like I can be doing more, so we can brainstorm together and I can share all the things that I've been doing and share more resources. So happy to do that. In other news and other updated things, our retreat is in a little over a month, which is insane. I cannot believe how fast time goes. Like, this happened last time where, like, literally it was like, okay, Guatemala, Guatemala, Guatemala. And then it was like, oh, wait, we're leaving. Okay, we're here. And that's exactly how I felt like this year happened. Like, I feel like we just launched the retreat and now we are preparing to go. We have such an incredible group of women. We are finalizing all the details around our schedule and brand partnerships. We have so many cute little goodies for everyone and cute merch and everything. And so we're finalizing all the details. We actually finalized our schedule already. So I'm excited to be sharing about that soon on socials. But yeah, dude, it is crazy that we're here. 10 of us going to India. That's just like so mind blowing. And I cannot wait. There's just like so much to do before then that I haven't started to do. So I will be talking all about it this month. But I'm excited to bring you guys along. And just like last year, I'm going to be doing daily podcasts and talking to the women and bringing their voices to the pod so that you can get to know all of them and hear about the journey. So I'm really, really pumped and I can't wait. All right, let's get into this week's episode and chat all about the crazy whirlwind that's been going on for me and how I've been moving through it with my nervous system and leaning into the unknown. So, I haven't shared much about this on the pod, but back, as you know, I've documented the whole journey of like working in hospitality, being an actor, being a creative, and the struggle it was to get out of hospitality. It took me like at least 2 years to make the transition from working in hospitality to a flexible 9 to 5, which eventually I did find back in 2024. And it was such a beautiful fit for me. Like, it was a hybrid schedule. I was able to be an actor. I was able to do the podcast, host events, the retreat, all of the things. And so it was such a blessing for me to receive that role and to be able to work there. And back in November, I was like, oh, I was, along with some other people, were laid off from the company. And it was not based on like performance or anything like that. They were just making structural changes. And it came out of absolutely nowhere. I did not even know. And it was about a week from Thanksgiving, like literally exactly a week from Thanksgiving. So you can imagine that it really threw a wrench in my life because it's been such a great journey for me to find a supportive role like this. But there are a couple things that I did to prepare for something like this to happen. And I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about what I did to prepare for something like this to happen and how I've been moving through it and what my thoughts are now on as I move through figuring out what my next steps are. So I was already feeling an itch back in the summertime. I was like, you know what? It's been so supportive to have a 9 to 5. It's been so supportive to have a role that not only financially really supports my creativity, but like from a schedule standpoint supports it as well, and all of the things. But what I felt was that I was really I didn't have the time and the space to be able to rest, to be able to just be creative, to be able to just be, period. And that was starting to get to me, working 40 hours a week on top of the podcast, on top of acting and auditioning and being on set was a lot. And as you all know, I've been on a journey to reset my system, reset my nervous system, and undo all of the programming I have around productivity and work. And I was feeling that. I was feeling that, hmm, maybe this was really supportive for the period that it was, but that some parts of this wasn't as supportive. And so I needed to find a new path to be as stable, supportive financially, but with less strain on my schedule so that I had more time to be creative, so that I had more time to rest and not, work all day and then have to like come home and record a podcast episode or write a newsletter and stay up till 10 o'clock and then wake up early to like do a self tape and blah, 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 blah. So, anyways, I started to explore some options, and thank goodness, like I listened to this intuition, to my intuition. I felt it. I knew it. And when I got all that information around like, okay, I need to like slow down. I need to tap in. I need to rewire my brain around productivity in conjunction with learning like about my hormones being a mess and then you know doing some deep dives with, I think I talked a little bit about it in a past episode, but doing some deep dives with a psychic that I really trust and one of my friends who's an astrologer, and learning that all these were connected and all of it had to do with me learning how to rest and slow down. And so I just knew that I needed to find a new path, find a new way. And so, through a very, very good friend of mine who is someone I talk to almost daily, I was really expanded by her journey because she has been a freelancer for 2 years while pursuing acting and has really found her footing. And I spoke with her, and she was able to help me through this journey. I knew that I wanted to like start a side hustle that could eventually replace my income, and in addition to commercials and acting money. So I was like, all right, like how do I do this? And so I started talking to her. She introduced me to an agency that she works with for content creation, and this was about maybe 2 months before I was let go. Thank God for listening to my intuition, because then about a month later I was starting to take clients, and I had a few clients about, I would say, within the month that I got let go. It's like I almost knew. So that was the first thing, right? Was that I was listening to my intuition, and I was already finding an alternate form of income while still working my 9 to 5. That was the first sort of step that I took to prepare myself for the worst case scenario. And so in addition to my other income, which is commercials and acting, I was like, I need like a side hustle that I can just be doing. And I started doing that. I started doing it on the weekends and working my 9 to 5, and then in between all of that, auditioning, podcast stuff. And thank God I did, because then a month later, after I started working with clients, I was let go. Now, the second thing that I did during the time that I was at this job was my singular goal this year was to like really get my finances in order. Like I was like, I want to pay off my credit card debt. I've accumulated debt over the years, and I want to build my savings. I want a generous cushion for at least 3 months so that I feel okay if something were to ever happen. And that's what I worked on this year or last year. I focused solely on that. I took, any acting money, extra like bonuses from work and things like that. And I really had specific goals in mind. I started with my savings goal first, then I moved on to paying off my credit card debt. And I can do a whole other episode about like finances and how I was essentially able to like double my income last year, the things that I did, and yada yada. Noted. We will do another episode about that if you guys are interested. And so yeah, and so that was like another thing that I think consciously, subconsciously did that prepared me for when this moment happened, because by the time that I was let go, I was safe financially. I had savings. I was in hardly any credit card debt in comparison, and I had a side hustle that was supporting me. So those were kind of the two major things that I was doing what during the job in order to prepare for the worst case scenario. And I think that the last piece of all of this is just mindset work. I did so much money mindset last year, and I think overall just like spiritual work, especially towards the end of the year, learning all these things about, rest, and honestly was such a major discovery for me to be like, oh shit, like I really need to work on healing my relationship to productivity. And I think I was in this ultimate state of connection to myself and my body that, in addition to the concrete things that I did in order to prepare for a moment like this, I created safety within my nervous system as well, because I was so deeply connected to myself around this time. And so it all happened in a way it felt like a major manifestation, because when I started doing this content work and working with this agency, I was like, you know what? Like I really want to eventually do this. I eventually want to be able to leave this job. I want to be doing like UGC and content creation and podcast stuff and acting, and I want to be more creative and have more space for rest and have more space as a freelancer. I want to be a freelancer to be able to support my life more fully, which is something that I think I was never prepared for prior to this, even though I thought I was prepared for it. But I think that I finally felt ready for it. And I said to myself, I'm going to give myself till June. I'm going to stay in this job. I'm going to keep building the side hustle. But I think the universe was like, no, you're ready now. Like you are ready now. You have the savings. You have an additional income portal. You are booking and working as an actor. And so the universe was like, nah, you're doing this now. And so I had to trust. I had no other choice than to just trust that this was meant to happen when it happened. And it felt almost like, I don't know if y'all, any spiritual woo woo people out there like have ever heard of a quantum leap, like where you go from like one version of your life and seemingly in like a millisecond you're in a new version of your life. That's exactly what happened to me, where I had been dreaming of having spaciousness in my schedule, and all of a sudden it was given to me like by the universe. And I was only able to feel safe and confident, and I was only able to trust the universe in the way that I did because I had concrete safety, financial safety, because I had worked on my savings, because I had built out a side hustle. Like that added to my safety within my body, you know? So I think oftentimes we talk about woo woo and, I don't know, the concrete world as separate, but like it works very much hand in hand, right? Like I created safety in my body because I prepared myself for a moment like this so that I could trust the universe and know that this was meant to happen when it did. And so literally a couple of magical things happened after all of this happened. And I knew when it happened, I knew in my heart and soul, my body, that this was meant to happen. Like it's inexplainable. I just felt it. I was like, yeah, yeah, okay. Like this is meant to happen. And 5 days later, I booked a commercial. Literally 5 days later. And I was like, oh, okay, beautiful. And for those who've been tuned in, I joined the Actors Union back in September. And through the Actors Union, for those who don't know, you actually get health insurance and pension and a lot of other benefits. But one of the major wins is if you hit a certain threshold of acting money, you get health insurance. And I was this close to getting health insurance at this point. And so when I booked that, I was like, well, done. Like, done. With this booking, I will hit health insurance. So I booked that 5 days later after getting let go. And then a little over a week, I was on set working with Sarah Jessica Parker. And it was just the most magical moment ever to be like, oh my God, like I was let go. I booked a commercial immediately. I'm working with like an icon, getting to do what I love this week. That very same day, I got a major audition. And that week, that first week of December, I got a random payout from a commercial I did previously in the year, which that made me hit my health insurance minimum. So I didn't even have to wait for this new commercial to come through. So needless to say, that first week of December cemented the fact that, okay, like I am where I'm supposed to be. And I just have to trust. And I was scared. Like, that's not to say that, like, I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm good. No, I was like, I'm terrified. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, maybe this month I'm okay. But what's going to happen next month? What am I going to do the next month? Like, what if this content stuff doesn't, like, work? What if I don't know. I hear about freelancing all the time, right? Like, freelancers, are always month to month, not really knowing what's going to happen next. And I was like, is my nervous system ready for that? Like, I'm scared. What's going to happen in January? What's going to happen in February? Like, but I kept reminding myself to just lean in and trust and know that like the answers will appear and that this didn't happen for no reason. And I had a beautiful month. I was able to rest. I was able to recover my nervous system, my body, everything. I was able to really, really rest. I was able to spend the holidays. I spent more time visiting my mom at home, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things if this had not happened. And that's why I decided to take January slowly and to really transition and be like, okay, I got to figure out this new life, this new freelance life. And I want to do a whole nother episode to dive into, as an ADHDer, the struggles I have found with having more free time and how to structure, like learning how I'm going to be structuring my time from here on out. It's a struggle, and learning how to like transition to this new life. Some of the guilt that I have had with having more free time and structuring my time this way. But beyond that, like there have been so many other like unexplainable magical things that continue to happen, that continue to reaffirm that like I am where I'm supposed to be. The very first piece of mail I opened this year was a check from the Google commercial I did with Sarah Jessica Parker back in December. Literally, I came home from being with my family, like ball dropped, we drove home and we got mail. I opened a piece of mail that I got and it was a check from that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm hoping that's a sign. And I took it as a sign. And immediately that same week, the first week of January, I ended up finding a super aligned manager. I have an agent, and now I signed with a high level manager who has like working actors, who feels so more incredibly aligned than like previous managers I've had in the past, and just to match where I'm headed. And needless to say, this month has been a whirlwind. I've been freelancing. I'm discovering more ways to build out what I've learned is called a portfolio career. According to one of my very good friends, Natalie, is where I first heard the term. And then now I've been hearing it everywhere. But continuing to build different income portals and working on that, working on a schedule, resting, making my own schedule, working out every week, and having actually like a pretty busy month when it comes to auditioning and acting, and feeling like a lot of momentum right now. So yeah, needless to say, I think that like all of this was meant to happen, but I wouldn't have been able to lean into the magic and lean into trusting the universe if I hadn't set myself up for something like this to happen. And so this is like, yes, we can prepare our nervous system and do the work, and we should be doing that always, but also be setting things in motion always. I think, based on how things have been in recent years, that everyone should not be relying on one form of income, even if it's like a small thing on the side, because things like this happen. And I genuinely think that even if it's like a small little thing on the side, or, a new skill that you're learning, whatever it is, it's like critically important for us to be working on this, because this is happening left and right. People are like getting let go, things are shifting. At the very least, setting yourself up with a savings. And none of this is for you to start panicking and freaking out and like overworking yourself. That is not the point of why I'm saying this. The point of why I'm saying this is because I recently just went through this, and I think I wouldn't be able to like see all the magic, lean into all the goodness if I hadn't done that. And so that's what's been going on. And I'm excited to see what's next. And I definitely want to do another episode to chat all about how I've been able to structure my time, how I'm figuring that out, the guilt that's come with like how much time I do have on my plate now, and how to transition into a freelance life after my entire life of working W2 job. So I'm going to bring you guys along the journey as always. All right, y'all. That was today's episode. I am excited to be back, and we're going to be chatting it up this month. We're going to be talking about all these things. I feel like I have so many floating things that I want to talk about with all of y'all, and I'm excited to hear from y'all. So if anything in this episode sparked anything, if you know of anyone going through a transition like this, send them this episode and let me know what you think. Shoot me a DM if there's anything that you want to hear more about. I'm happy to share about it. And take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of yourselves. It is a hard time. And be gentle, rest, and take the breaks when you need them, because we need you. We need you out there. Okay, y'all. I'll talk to you next week.